Hi, and welcome back to Codeweaver Plays Games. I have decided to do a stream of Kerbal Space Program, as I have been doing a lot of in the last little while, and I'm going to switch right over to the game because I actually forgot to do that in the stream. I just started up 20 minutes ago. But nobody was paying attention to the stream, and I really haven't done a heck of a lot of anything except to prevaricate about the situation of what I wanted to do in the game. Which I can summarize. I'm not going to ramble any less because I tend to ramble quite a bit. But my audio seems to be working. Stream seems to be okay. All right, now we're back in business. So my main objective is to try to generate some more capital. I got about $1 million, Kerbal Space dollars, I guess. I want to kind of get up into the 1.5 million or 2 million region before I start doing a couple of necessary upgrades. One, I want to upgrade the administration building and activate a 60% funding of my funding of an R&D program in order to generate as much science as possible simply by completing missions. The minute I do that, though, I'm not going to be generating as much money for the rest of the program. So I want to have a fairly nice buffer zone and have the buildings upgraded as much as I reasonably can in sort of the couple of $1 million budget limit. Some of the upgrades are extraordinarily expensive, and I won't be doing that until way later. But I want to generate as much science as I can, as fast as I can, because I think that will get me to the more interesting parts that I want to explore more quickly. And that's just sort of the way I roll. I like generating lots of science really, really fast. Right now, though, what I want to do is generate lots of money really, really fast. And so I have a trip here involving more tourism out to Moon. Let's see if I can do this smoother than I have previous designs. I've moved around some of my parts, and we'll have to see if I can make this thing... having trouble getting this thing to ascend properly, so let's see what happens. The problem is it's a bit top-heavy. So let's see what happens when yeah, this is pretty good. This is feeling good, actually. Let's get this tilted over a little bit further. Kind of trying to force the start of the gravity turn. And then I'm going to go prograde, partially because I want to jettison these and I want them to just fall off the back of the ship straight, so I don't get pushed out from the ship very far. If you're doing anything other than traveling prograde, you can slam them into the side of your ship. I'm going to let this thing travel upward for a bit, and while I'm doing... oh, hello. I'm going to monitor dropping off those solid fuel boosters. And now I'm going to forcibly tip quite a bit further. Come on. Let's try that. So let's check out what our apoapsis is doing. Oh, it's climbing super, super fast, and I can't shut off these engines without just jettisoning them. So I'm going to force this over. That kind of means I did not do a fantastic job doing the gravity turn hard over far enough. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend the rest of this basically... this is still... oh no, this is dropping just a little bit. We're actually gonna... oh, no, what do I want to do? Come on. Thank you. Really difficult to turn because I don't have any air, so the control surfaces in the air aren't doing diddly squat. So what we're doing is we're just basically pushing this sideways at this point. So hopefully that solid fuel will be able to push this along far enough that then the liquid fuel we burn is not that significant. That was not what I would consider to be necessarily all that efficient. I'm going to give this one more go. I know I said I wanted to try to do this quickly, but let's see if we can tilt over a little bit earlier. It seems to be pretty stable. And get an arc which... get an arc which in which I'm spending more of my time burning specifically prograde. See if starting at about 45 degrees. Yeah, that'll do. Go prograde. This might be a little shallow. I might have to, yeah, it's, because I'm only at 6,000 feet and I'm already going way sideways. And unfortunately, that means I'm cutting through the atmosphere too sharp. So I gotta split the difference there. Let's try to revert to launch. Alright. Here we go. We're going to tilt over to about... there. Let's try that. And go prograde. No, prograde, not retrograde. Oh my god. Did I screw that up completely? I might have gone a little bit off of... Snowfield runs off. I've gotten a little bit off of sort of... Whoa. Alright, well, we'll try that. That seems to be doing okay. Where did we get to apoapsis-wise? This still might not be a very good launch. Although I am above a good chunk of the atmosphere now, so this isn't actually terrible. And again, you're fighting losing fuel to use to gravity, using fuel use to friction. Those are competing problems. One requires you to go really fast, and the other requires you to go like high acceleration. One requires you to not push your velocity too high. But also, it's most efficient when you follow ignoring those two effects, it's efficient to follow your prograde on the way up. To use the gravity curve as naturally as possible is, I think, the most efficient way, all other things being essentially removed. But we're going to have to take us off prograde and just simply try to gain some altitude here, because we're getting a lot of sideways but not a lot of up. So we're burning off a lot of fuel just fighting. See, this isn't really any better because we're less high, but we really haven't come very much further around the planet, and now we don't have any solid fuel left. So that was worse. So we're relearning how to do this efficiently is what we're really saying here. Okay, let's try the opposite. Let's start a gravity turn kind of early-ish. But let's not do it too harsh. Like, let's go, say, here. Prograde, please. And if we happen to get super high, maybe that's not a big deal. Because we're going to get up above the atmosphere faster this way. That's bad. Nobody saw that thing that totally was intended to happen just for show. Alright, I gotta get it so that these tourist things are a bit old hat. So this is going very much more up than it was before, which means we're getting above the thicker part of the atmosphere sooner. Which then also means, once I'm at this stage, I'm spending less of this last burn fighting the atmosphere. Now I'm going to monitor this. See, we are already, our apoapsis is way high. I got to find a middle ground. But I don't think I'm going to this launch. Because I'd like to get it so that I come out of the upper atmosphere. I cannot tilt over much further here. It's good. I'm fighting it. It's fighting me. Because I'm still technically in the atmosphere, so I don't... Like, turning becomes difficult. So, we're going to do that. That's way up there, but that's okay. I'm going to let it be way up there. The problem is if you're not pointed directly at your prograde, you're technically burning more fuel to change your direction than necessarily building speed. But I'm definitely in no atmosphere at this point, so... See, at this point, way higher, and this is way further along around the planet. So that's okay, and then we do this. Actually, we're gonna wait a little bit to get a little bit closer to apoapsis. Let's say here. Let's warp here. Now, this is counting down very slowly, but that means that we are approaching it faster than we are well, we're approaching it faster than we can push it away, I guess. The apoapsis, which essentially means that we will eventually encounter this, which then means that we will go past it, which means that then we'll be accelerating downward. So that's not great, because we do want to get the other side of this orbit higher before we cross this point. But since we are accelerating, the time for this is the time until we get here is actually slowing down. Part of the reason for that is because we are still rising up a little bit with our thrust. And the other part of that is because the whole orbit's flattening out. Let's see, it's 56, and it's staying there. $57. So now, at this point, if we kept thrusting, we would never get there to apoapsis. But that also means that let's just stop thrusting. Get a little closer. Is it increasing or decreasing? Now it's decreasing again because we're not able to thrust hard enough. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to raise periapsis. There it is. We're going to be able to raise it up to 80K before we cross that junction. In fact, this has been a really nice burn. And actually, we're going to stop. I'm going to bump it a little forward by about 30 seconds. Start the thrust again. Where is this anyway? This is at 138 something. All right. So we've more or less circularized it. That's fine. Good enough. Good enough. Mostly planar. Not really. We kind of came off this a little bit skewed. So because I know that Moon's orbit and my orbit are essentially coplanar, I'm actually going to spend the time ahead of time, because now I have this information. God, it's actually kind of hard to read these markers with this planet being as pretty as it is, but where is the ascending node? Do I get that knowledge? Not as such. I have to have something in an orbit to measure against, I think. So but I know these guys are all on the equator. So if I set this as a target, there. Now we got the ascending node and descending node. So I'm going to cheat. Well, I'm not cheating. I'm using an existing object, the guys I have to rescue in the next mission, in order to identify the plane around the center of the planet, in order to identify the ascending node, because it is at the ascending node where I'm going to fix the planarness of my orbit now rather than try to do it after I'm already en route to the moon. So what that means is, at this point, I want to set a maneuver. And I'm ascending relative to that orbit, so what I want to do is pull that down, and I want to reduce that number, which is really hard to read. Because, again, the shininess of the planet. I wonder if I can either turn that down or increase the size of the font. But it says 1.6 degrees there. So I want to shrink that down to 0. Whoops. Shrink that down to close to 0 anyway, to 1. And that just causes the ascending node to shoot off around here to 0 degrees. That's fine. I have to burn a little bit to make that happen. I am going to hit the warp to here button on the maneuver node. But then, having done that, I'm going to turn off stability assist. Don't need the RCS, actually. And one of these markers is actually the go to the North Pole, effectively, or aim at the North Pole direction. And the other one is my actual maneuver node marker. I did not have this the first few times that I went to the moon. But that's also the same reason why I'm choosing to do this burn now rather than later, because it's a little bit easier for me to do now. Because I have that ascending node marker. Alright, it's going to require a 19-second burn. Cut that in half, and it's about 10 seconds. So at T-minus 10 seconds, I'm going to start the burn. And it's a longish burn. And so what that means is I'm just going to do it at full power. And then correct forward a little bit at the tail end. So here we go. So this is correcting for the tilt of my orbit relative to the orbit of one of the other spacecraft up here, which is in turn the same as the plane in which Moon is flying. So I'd like to get that all matched up before I leave Kerbal space. So I'm doing a couple of quick little bursts, following the marker. That did not work nearly as well as I thought it would, because I think I overshot. See if I can fix that. It's probably not going to matter too much. Chase it around a little bit. Alright, good enough. So, what that means is now my orbit, the orbits of these craft, and the orbit of the moon are all roughly at the same plane. Now, what we're going to do is, since we now have all of this maneuver node stuff, let's actually go ahead and use it. Let's not do it the hard way. You can go and find out how I did it before I had maneuver nodes in previous videos that I did on this. On my YouTube channel is probably where it's gotten archived by this point, but might still be on Twitch if you're watching this fairly soon. So let's set the moon as target. Oh, I suppose if I set the moon as target, I could have probably got the ascending node off of that too. Well, there you go. Don't I feel sheepish? I didn't have to use a spacecraft, but that doesn't matter. So, very roughly, the point at which I'm going to want to leave is when my ship is coming up over the horizon towards the moon. So it's going to be roughly here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a maneuver. I'm going to extend this way, way out. Way, way out until we start seeing evidence that we're going to get a capture. And I think that's where we're actually transitioning to moon periapsis. Now, the point at which it's saying that we're getting a capture as we arrive is actually quite a distance away, and so we can fiddle with this a bit by turning this in time a little bit. So you can see that way over here, I'm not quite touching the moon's orbit, right? As I approach the intercept point, all of a sudden there's this point at which the orbits get a little wonky, and the reason why that's happening is because we're getting captured and then released. But what happens if over here I extend this out to the moon's orbit, right? Now let's swing it around. Now I get a much different effect at the point at which there's a capture. And you can actually see as I swing this around, like basically right here is where I start having a moment of capture. Right here is where there's like a full transition to capture and a tight flyby at 456,000 meters. And if I swing it even further, I'm swinging it in time. Remember, I'm not extending or changing my orbit at all. I'm just changing when I'm choosing to do it. But you can see actually, if I go further, I will actually have an orbit that, or a path that actually intersects with the moon. And then even further along, I'll have it so that it actually flies around the back side of the moon instead, all the way over here. So the time of arrival, even if you change nothing else about the amount of energy you put into extending the orbit, because all of this will cost the same amount of fuel, you can get virtually any kind of intersection you want in this like nicely coplanar transition. Now it becomes all about the time of departure and not about how much fuel, because all these use the same fuel. I'm not actually adjusting the amount of thrust I'm applying at all. And you can see that in the burn time, 2 minutes 25 seconds for all of it. All of these changes are based on just positioning the amount of when I want to do this. Now, of course, I can also adjust the thrust parameters in order to achieve various other kinds of intercepts. But what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pick a time that lets me arrive in a situation where where the only thing I have to do is a final burn at the tail end at the height I want. So 134, let's actually get really close. Like super duper close. How about 45 kilometers above the surface? That's our target. It's going to require a fair bit of liquid fuel burn on the other side, and I don't know if it's going to be successful, so I'm going to hit F5 here. And then I'm going to see, I'm going to do the burn when I get there, and if I don't have enough fuel that I think I can actually get back to Kerbal, because that's obviously a critical thing. Actually, I guess I don't need technically to make it a circular orbit that low, do I? It could be highly elliptical. Okay, so let's go even further down. $13,000 meters. We are going to skim the surface, assuming we do this burn right. Alright. So we're going to save that. We are going to accelerate in time until we get there. And then we are going to do a burn that passes really, really close. We will go into... I will spend enough fuel to get an elliptical orbit that doesn't allow us to escape. So that I can come back when so that I can orbit that a couple of times if I have to. But let's give this a go. There's going to be a 2-minute burn. So hopefully this is smart enough to leave me at the appropriate point with plenty of time remaining. Burn time is 2 minutes, 25 seconds. Didn't leave me a lot of leeway, but I am going to do a hard burn, so it means I have to be at the 1 minute and 12 second mark to do a full burn. If I did a half burn, I would need twice as much time and I'd already be thrusting. Okay, so I'm locked onto my the direction I want to thrust, and I'm aiming for 1 minute and 12 seconds, roughly. A little bit higher. Oh, good enough. Start it. What I'm aiming to do also is to get enough tech to be able to purchase some of the initial offerings in the MechJet tool, which is the only component, the only mod that I've added to the game that actually affects the sort of active gameplay. And the reason I have that is because once I've done a thing manually and sort of shown that I can do it, I really don't have any problem with using a tool that makes that experience less onerous, and actually, even though I enjoy flying a lot, less time consuming on stream. It'll help me do my ascents better, more efficiently, rather than me having to make quite as many launches, although I may have to fight with PechJet itself from time to time. It'll also help me arrange my maneuver nodes, arrange intercepts and the like. I highly recommend it, but I am also not a person who likes like clogging up a game with all sorts of just let me win mods. That's not my thing, and I don't like recommending it to others. KSP is definitely an experience to savor, to learn how to do it yourself. Just saying. Once you've done it yourself enough, I think it's reasonable to use an automated tool. That's just my opinion. You're totally free to ignore me on that. Long burn. So one of the big problems with long burns is all of the accuracy of the maneuver node is assuming more or less an instantaneous change of velocity at the point at which you start applying thrust. Which means that some of the thrust that I'm applying happened before I was in the ideal spot, some of it afterwards. So the resulting destination for a super long burn, I'm going to be out. There's going to be error. So I'm going to have to fix this after I finish this burn. If this burn were any longer, I might actually do it in 2 stages to avoid that, but that becomes a trickier thing to arrange. Mostly because if you want to figure out if you're really going to hit, you have to be a little bit more planny aheady. Oh, hello. So where did that get us? So as we're approaching this, let's actually monitor. So you can see the real trajectory is starting to get closer and closer to the intended trajectory, and I might just be able to go prograde and ignore this now and just use this. I may not have to set up another maneuver node. I just keep applying thrust in the direction I'm already headed and alter the actual real flight path that I'm going to be on. So I'm going to fly as close as 25 kilometers above the surface. I'm going to call that a really good. I may not be able to circularize that though. All right, I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to see if I can circularize it when I get there. So I don't have to make it actually fully circular. I can make it an orbit. So I'm time accelerating now. I'm going to make it an orbit that at least keeps us captured in the moon if I can, but that's going to be really tough. Because I'm not going to have a lot of time to do the burn that will help me do that. So let's find out how much of a burn I'm going to need. So at periapsis, add a maneuver. Pull it all the way in. So I want to get this down to about a million meters is about as far away as I would want to be. So I have to do something like this. Oh, that's not bad. That's only a 19-second burn time. Ooh, I'm going to be hugging this real close. All right, so check this out. We are targeted for a 25-kilometer roughly approach. That's only going to take me a burn time of 19 seconds in order to be able to circularize the orbit. So let's not circularize, but we're going to be doing retrograde burn very roughly. There it is. So we need to, we're doing a burn time in 19 seconds. We're going to do a full power burn, and so we're going to need basically about 10 seconds. 9.5 seconds, 10 seconds. Let's actually go down to the rocket level, because this is just pretty as heck. Oh god, I missed my burn time. Oh, that doesn't matter though. That's fine. I can live with that. I overshot, but it's not... This burn isn't going to be the one that needs like a whole lot of super big accuracy. It's going to be good enough. So roughly in the right direction at roughly the right amount of time, which should have lowered us to below 1 million. Alright, so we're going to risk F5ing that. And while we are down here at this level, let us try to do a little bit of science. Let's see if we can collect something interesting. Conduct material days. Near the moon, not high above the moon, near the moon. So this is going to actually get us maximal science for this trip. And observe the mystery goo. A lot of pressure data. I should put this up on an action group, since they allow that. To just set it up so that get me all the science right now is a thing you can actually do. I like collecting science and bringing it home. I have to admit that's a thing with me. You can totally play this game where hang on, I just gotta check something. You can totally play this game where I check my Steam. No, yeah, you can totally play this game where you transmit your data. So that's already got review data. Did I get this over here? Yes, I did. It's already been toggled. Yeah, that's good. Which one of these has my crew in it? That's that one. Crew report, please. Yes. We're also going to let you do an EVA. And we are going to do an EVA report. And we're going to reboard because we want to make that all nice and safe. Hit F5 again. And we're just going to enjoy a moment. Only 34 kilometers above the surface of the moon. You could almost taste being able to get back down there. Or get down there and get back up and go home, right? It's like right there. But what we want to be able to do is do sort of a free return. We want to be able to get back. Now, what we're going to do is I want to be able to use as little of the remaining fuel as possible to get everybody back. Let's make sure I actually... did I actually get everybody? I did get everybody. Transmit or recover scientific data. So that's the mission we can't do yet because we don't have the parts we don't have the stuff we really want to be able to do a lunar landing. Actually, we probably could now. Because I found I don't need to expand one of my buildings in order to be able to do EVAs and flags. I don't want to be able to deposit a flag down there. Oh, except I need to be able to collect material. That I have to look up whether or not I can do. I think I can. So I don't want to get there and not be able to collect the pick stuff up mission, right? To preserve fuel, all I want to do is extend this upward and then far enough that I have escaped from moon. When I do so, I want to make sure I'm not also escaping from Kerbal. So I want to have this orbit pointed the other way along the moon, along moon's path. But I don't want to do that by using fuel, so I actually have to wait. Now, here's the thing. If I wait long enough at a high acceleration, you'll see that my orbit is not changing. My direction of my orbit is not changing relative to Kerbal. Sorry, it's not changing relative to the moon, but my moon's position and my orbit relative to Kerbal is changing. So this is getting better. So I'm going to go just a little bit further. All right. That's probably one cycle too many. But let's just set up the maneuver node now. We're going to do this. Just enough to get me sort of escaping. And the result of that, we can now already see. Now, we were doing this before we had the maneuver node help. Now we can see the effects of what's going on. So in principle, we can now fiddle with this to try to find the best way to have the result be the periapsis be as close as we can to Kerbal. I think that's what I want to do. So if we fiddle with this just a bit. So if we come off, we spend a lot more fuel initially. We're going to be able to drop down. We're going to be able to have our escape actually be almost at the at Moon's orbit, which is not bad. That'll take 104 meters per second, basically, fuel. But this will probably make it easier to drop this down into the atmosphere, like quite trivially easy. And so there's going to be a trade-off here. Do I do the burn now hard, or do I do it easier now, but then do it harder later? Because if I do this, something like this, I'm much further away. I use way less fuel, but then I'm just going to have to use that fuel anyway in order to drop this down. And now I have to drop it down from 3 million meters instead, right? I think ideally I want to do as much of it as I can while I'm in the Moon's orbit. So there's diminishing returns there, though. I think right about there. Let's do that. So spend 91 meters per second of fuel now, and that's dropped that quite a ways down. The two things I want, this to go down and this to go up, because the further out you are when you're lowering periapsis from, lowering perigee from apogee, the more efficient this burn is. I think I'm going to stick with that. So let's accelerate in time to when we get there. It's an hour away. We only have 13-second burn, so we're going to want about 8 seconds worth of burn time. 8, 7, 6 seconds. 7 or 6 seconds. I can't do math today, apparently. You can do a lot of this, by the way, a lot more intuitively than I am, especially if you either aren't doing career mode or just sandbox, or you're doing it on a much easier career mode, because I'm doing it on hard difficulty with a modification or something, or it's either medium with heat. I can't remember, one of the two, with heat damage. I'm applying what I've learned over many, many goofy years of playing this game, but you can do a lot of this fairly intuitively. All right, here we go. This one doesn't need to be exact either. Yeah, good enough. So that's left us with 1 million meters to drop down and 1.2 million meters to drop down. All right. But the point of the time at which we want to do that burn to drop it all down is when we're back up here. So here we go. Retrograde. We don't even really need markers for this. We're going to burn retrograde, which is going to drop periapsis into the floor. we are going to say we're coming in fairly hot and we're fairly heavy, so I'm not going to drop this down to 40 like I normally do. I do a couple of passes because I don't have much fuel left, and I want to make sure I have enough to help re-entry if I have to. I shouldn't have to. I like the buffer zone. So now comes the slightly painful part of using the atmosphere to using the atmosphere to slow us down. But we are also going to want to turn all of you on, because as we enter the atmosphere, the gyros in here, the spin gyros, what the heck are they called, flywheels in here, are not going to be enough to really keep our orientation and all of this mass pointed nose down if everything starts to go skew-if. At least I don't want to depend on it exclusively. I don't have RCS on this, so these are useful both as active control surfaces or just as air guides, like a dart, right? Originally I had these at the other end in order to make it kind of feel like an actual dart. And if I were using it in dart mode, I would definitely have to still have them up there. But these are now actually active control surfaces. And the RCS is going to use that. So they can be at the bottom here, assuming they don't tear off. Right. Atmospheric reentry is slowing us down, which is acting like we're doing thrust in the reverse direction, which has exactly the same effect of lowering apoapsis on us. Now, obviously, the thing here is that these wings aren't... Oh, God. That was a problem. So, who can tell us what we did wrong here? How do you get those orbit calculations? Which orbit calculations in particular? This is a question being asked by 32RQ. Alright. That's now a problem. My science station is probably going to prevent us from being able to land safely with all this mass. Okay. I'm now extremely worried about not being able to get down there. But the best case scenario that I can hope for at this point is either that was just because I pushed it too hard into the atmosphere on that pass, or if it does mean that I can't possibly do the descent when it comes around to it, these guys will be stuck in orbit, and I'll have to come and do some sort of rescue mission. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this in order to protect the ship coming down. I wonder if I can really rapidly learn how to do parts welding. All right. You were by Moon. I'm pulling a control to look at Kerbal and perigee. Oh, yes. One of the... so, it's not something you get stock right out of the gate. I was pulling a control to look at Kerbal and perigee. It's not a stock thing that you have out of the gate if you're in career mode. Obviously, if you're in sandbox, this doesn't apply. Basically, what it is it's one of the upgrades to your tracking station enables you to... I think that's all that it needs. It might need an upgrade of another building. It enables you to create a maneuver node, which basically says, once my ship gets here, I'm going to do a burn, and then it allows you to say which direction you want to do the burn in by tugging on these controls to go like forward or sideways or up, and it will tell you what the resulting path of your orbit is. But if that happens to intersect another body, then the orbit transfers to that body, and then if it leaves that body, it transfers again, and so you can basically see your entire future path for quite a distance into the future. And then I just fiddled with the maneuver node in order to be able to get whatever I wanted. Leaving Moon. And another thing you can do with the maneuver nodes in addition to that is, obviously, once you've set this up, the question might be, okay, well, that kind of looks good, but I want to see what happens when I just adjust the time at which I do the burn. And so you can click on the central circle and drag that around and see how that affects the result. And so you get used to knowing when to set up. I have to totally start paying attention to my ship because it's entering the atmosphere soon. Hang on a second. I'm going to make sure I'm pointed retrograde. Now it's perfectly safe. You get used to figuring out, because you start out doing this without these, you get to know sort of how your orbit changes as you thrust your ship around. So all this really does is give you a way to say, if I were here at applied thrust, what would it look like without actually having to do the maneuver? You can look into the future and you can just tweak it in time. You can tweak it in thrust. You can go, if you right click on it, there's a thing here to go to the next orbit in case it happens to be that you have to go once around or twice around before you actually do the maneuver. And does that change anything? So you can set up maneuver nodes pretty much arbitrarily into the future, and you can even set up a maneuver node on top of a maneuver node so that you can basically plan out a series of steps. Now, obviously, there's going to be errors in how you perform each node, so that error is going to compound as you go outwards, so you keep having to sort of fix things up as you go, but super trippy. And really, once you start getting to the point of going past Moon, you kind of need them. You don't absolutely need them. You can do all the math yourself. Why would I want to put myself through that pain? I'm not quite that mathy. But you could totally do it yourself. Because this does employ more or less real physics. You can also basically experimentally do what I did to get to Moon, to find out how to get to Moon, and figure out, if I'm at this height, and I'm going this speed, and I'm at this point around my orbit, and I do this kind of thrust, where does that get me relative to the Moon? And if you do enough of those experiments, you can just figure out the timing experimentally, which is the long way of doing maneuver nodes without having maneuver nodes. Kind of love maneuver nodes. That's my ramble on maneuver nodes. I can say it again, maneuver nodes. Alright, so I'm approaching... It's really the only way to do super long distance stuff, though, because you can plan stuff out so much more easily, especially intercepts with other craft and other bodies. I actually used them in order to do an intercept with spacecraft, and you can see that in the previous video I did, which is probably still on Twitch, and it'll eventually end up on YouTube, and I did that yesterday. But I'll probably be doing more of that right after I get these guys down, so you'll probably see more of that, because now I'm going to start to use them all over the place. Let's figure out what's going on here. Let's make these active so that they can actually help steer the ship. Hopefully I have less explodey time. And this would probably be better if I closed these doors, how about? So that'll probably help the explodiness. So how far did that drop us down? Not a lot. But I'm not seeing any temperature warnings at this height, so I may try to drop it down further into the atmosphere to maximize the amount of speed I'm bleeding off. Also, as your characters get further up their own personal skill trees, the pilots get a few more options to help you hold positions that are better, rather than just prograde and retrograde. One of my favorites is Please hold position. I think it's in here. Please hold position on the maneuver node marker itself. If it's not in there, it's in MechJub, but I don't like relying on MechJub for the first few times I do this. So that is as much as I'm getting out of... That was okay. I came down obviously from about here to about here, but that's not really very fast. So let's see what we can do on the next pass about making that a bit more sharpish. So I'm going to warp to here. Another thing you get once you have tracking is being able to click on a point and just say warp to this point in your orbit, please. Which is super duper handy. Retrograde, please. Alright, let's figure this out. Save the game. Let's see if we can bring these Kerbals home, or at least get them in a very low circular orbit as quickly as we can. 52. So we're going to go and shrink that down to about... Whoa! Whoa, way too far. Way too far. Trying to save fuel, so I'm going to reload the quick save. Yes, I know it's kind of cheating. Well, yeah, I consider it kind of cheating, but it's not any sort of... That's just me being twitchy-fingered rather than making a stupid decision. I'll eat my stupid decisions. I hate it when I twitch my fingers the wrong way, though. Right, retro grade, please. I think we're already on it, so let's do a very slow burn. Let's bring it down to 47.6. And let's see if that kills us. Okay. Flip us around appropriately. Physics time warp us a little bit ahead until we start seeing heat, because I want to not waste everybody's time. So there we go. So let's watch this really carefully. We're going to watch for the overheats over here, and we're going to watch for the temperature markers here. And the critical thing that blew up last time was the science station. So that's kind of the thing we got to keep a really close eye on. I did turn these on, right? Yes, I did. Eventually, I'll start abandoning using these and actually use like just RCS on the way down, because that should be more than enough. But check this out. We do have a temperature thing here. But it's not creeping up much higher, and I think that's just the engine bell. And I want it to take the heat, so that's not a bad thing. So we can get down as far as 47.6 without causing an explosion. So we're going to lower it even further on the next pass. And keeping in mind, we can keep lowering that anyway, because we're obviously slowing down each time. Like our top speed is slower each time we do this. So let's keep creeping it down to maximize the amount of speed we can bleed off. That's actually pretty good. So we're going to accelerate physics time warp because we're out of the red zone. Let's climb back out of the well. Turn off physics time warp, turn on normal time warp. Actually, we can just use the click and warp to here feature, because we're going to want to go into retrograde up here and try sneaking it down just a hair more. Maybe we can get down to 45 this time. All right, let's see. 45 kilometers. Let's check this out. 46, 45. That'll do. We're going to keep lowering this as hard as we can so we get down as fast as we can. And if we can't bring our boys home, and girls home, sorry, if we can't bring our peeps home, if Dashi can't do her job, sorry, that was unfair to Dashi. If I can't do my job helping Dashi get everybody home, then we're going to circularize the orbit, leave these guys up here and do a rescue mission. not even sure how we would do this at this tech level. I could get, I could definitely do a rescue where I get the peeps home, but it would be harder. Or I get where I could get the passengers home. And I obviously could get Dashi home, but I want to be able to get the science home as well. So that's a target. Alright, here we are, we're descending. Let's monitor everything again. We're going all the way down to 45 here, so got the heat warning on the bell. We're not, despite the camera wobble, we're not actually getting a lot of craft wobble, so that's actually good, because that means we're not exposing parts of the craft we shouldn't be to excess heat. Because a lot of these pieces shadow other parts of these pieces. I don't know how sophisticated that shadowing is, but... Yeah, we can get all the way down to 45 at this point. We probably couldn't have done it from up at the top. I think, actually, my first explosion probably was the open doors of the cargo bay, maybe. But even if it wasn't, it was good to start at 50 kilometers in, or 50 kilometers above, and now we're descending as it becomes safer to take more of the brunt of the heavier atmosphere. Yeah, look at that. We're climbing back out of the gravity well. Alright, alright. We've dropped this down considerably. We're going to keep dropping it down as hard as we can. Alright. Accelerate the physics time warp. Get us up and out of that well as fast as we can. Oh, I really love the, the one mod I put in here to add to the visuals of the game, which my graphics card is probably at the edge of being able to do. Fortunately, I don't have a 4K monitor, which makes it look a little easier on it. It's really pretty, the atmospheric stuff, and the sun flare is just, oh, so nice. Not necessary, but still lovely. Right, warp up to here, please. Flip around to retro burn. So yeah, if I can't get everyone home, I'm not going to revert back to the same save file. Like I said, I'm going to try to circulate. I'll revert back to a safe spot because I don't want everybody to die, but then I'm going to actually have to do a rescue mission, and that I consider part of the narrative and part of the fun. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so we're going to drop that down to 40. See if we can get away with that. I don't remember if I saved, so I'm going to save it now. Alright, so here we go. We're dropping down into a 40-kilometer height. I do love the music. It gets stuck in your head. It's just so lovely. Alright, here we go. Okay, we're a little bit further into the atmosphere, and then now we will turn off physics warp, because now we're dropping pretty fast. Keep an eye on things. We're getting way further into the atmosphere this time. Look at that lens ring. I love that. It's a nice effect. We are almost there, and we don't appear to be exploding. This is good. It might have been the doors that caused me the grief earlier. Don't leave doors open when you're descending through a hellstorm. It's giving me good feelings. Oh, look at that. We're descending well into the 39,000s because perigee dropped a little bit because of the length of the time we spent in the atmosphere. But that's okay. We seem to have survived it anyway, and we're climbing back out of the gravity well. And this is coming way, way down. Maybe 2 more passes, and we will be definitely... I think we'll be in the atmosphere proper, ready to do a landing. Alright, so let's see if we can accelerate the time. Physics warp without causing any grief. I think we can. All the way up to 4? Yes, we can. Okay. Alright. So you can see that dropped down to 39,370. So it dropped about 500 meters during our transition through it. That's fine. We're going to drop this down to 35,000 meters. Or 35,000 meters, 35 kilometers, and see if that works okay. So... oh yeah, the warp to here thing kind of defers itself as long as you're in physics time warp. So, better to take yourself out of physics time warp before trying to use that feature. So it did for me right there, I think. If I complete this mission and the rescue mission of all 4 of the orbiting Kerbals, I will probably have a boatload of cash and can try to do the moon run. That's my hope. Alright, let's try this. We're going to lower it to 35. This is, I think, ambitious, but not impossible. Gotta save that fuel. Flip over the ship, ready to do that re-entry. I think I forgot to save it up at the top end of that, so this is a little bit more dire than I'd anticipated. I may have to do an extra loop that I didn't want to do. Oh well, too late. Here we go. Way too late. To do a burn to bleed off some speed if that overheat marker that I'm now just seeing climbs too high during this descent. This may be okay though. I'm now convinced it was the open doors of the science station that blew me up the first time, so I could have come in harder on my initial run in, because I'm already down at 36 kilometers, and I'm only halfway up my overheating run. I don't want it to get very high. Certainly don't want the ship to flip sideways. But we're slowing our descent. This feels risky. But with this is descending very, very nicely. Still descending. Oh, I wonder... We are now starting to climb out of the gravity well on momentum alone. So sort of skipping off the atmosphere, if you want to call it that. But I don't know if we're going to be able to climb all the way out before this actually descends, happens to descend into the planet. Which actually means this might be our landing burn. In fact, now I'm pretty sure of it because this is becoming really flat. We are not climbing out of this fast at all. So that final burn, you can actually come right into the planet from quite a ways up. I mean, you'll be burning around half the planet, and our overheating is descending, so that's not an issue. We're not climbing fast at all. We're not getting out of this. We are now on descent, but we're also not blowing up, so this is good. This is very good. Preserved almost all of the fuel that we had when we left Moon. For emergency retro burn. Feels good. You know, my ideal sort of, I don't know if they've done this yet. There was a point at which you couldn't connect a heat shield and then connect a bell on the other side of it. That'd be ideal for me, because then the engine's taking much of the brunt. The heat shield is taking additional brunt of the heat and redirecting it away from the craft. But the problem is, I don't recall you being able to connect a bell, an engine bell, to a fuel tank through a heat shield. I guess heat shield's really supposed to be used on the, on a side of a craft that you're just intending to throw at a planet. So, different design. Can't believe these winglets held up, though. That's kind of epic. We are still climbing, technically speaking. But oh, look at that. Apoapsis it's only just now dropping into the atmosphere. So that's confirmation right there. Below 70K, we're definitely not coming, or not staying up. I mean, I could apply thrust to stay up if I wanted. But even if we can't circularize at this height and expect to stay out of the atmosphere. So, we are going in. And in fact, where is Periapsis? 8K, so we're definitely going in. But it is kind of funny that a huge bulk of this orbit has been inside the atmosphere, going upward, using nothing more than momentum. Love it. Physics is bonkers. Orbital mechanics is equally bonkers. Orbital mechanics with an atmosphere is doubly, triply bonkers. Okay, so let's accelerate the time warp, because now we're just wasting time. So, here we go. We're definitely going in. Double check to see if any of my peeps are chatting at me. No, nobody has done work. I have taken the week off, which is why I'm doing this kind of earlier in the day than I normally would, although I did start this one late. And I'm just having fun streaming. I am not a professional streamer. For any of you who encounter this later, I mean, just a guy doing a game, or 3. But I thought I would do it on the stream, I think, philosophically, because it enables me to connect with people without actually having to deal too much with people. How rude is that? I'm so sorry. I mean, I can connect with people on my own terms and in my own time. It definitely helped me get through the whole pandemic thing, and probably will for some time to come. Just sharing a little joy in these simulated universes, solving puzzles and having adventures. Waxing a little bit philosophic in the cheesiest way possible, because I'm just waiting for my ship to descend into a fireball. So what do I have to do next? I have to use the other version of this craft, which is geared more towards lots of fuel, maneuvering fuel in orbit to collect passengers. I'm going to have to rejigger it a bit because I got to add another command module if I want to get all 4 of them down in one go. Which may mean adding more thrust at the low end to lift more fuel. So I'm going to have to bring about another ton of equipment up with another capsule. You know what I might do? I might adjust it so that I'm using like the hitchhiker landing cam instead of a full command module. I'll see if that how much that saves me. Oh, that's a bad thing. That's a seriously bad thing, and that was probably because of physics warp. Please don't blow up. I can't flip you over. I seem to be okay. I lost control. Well, that's the end of that. Right, how far back? How far back do I have to go? Quite a ways back, I'm anticipating. Well, not as far as I thought. Nope, that's fine. Where was I at, though? 39. Actually, I hit the save at the right point. Okay, so why was that a problem? I don't actually know why that was a problem. Well, I'm not going to do any better on this initial burn than I did the first time. So we're going to have to do a repeat of that. Or at retrograde. That's weird. Was that just because I was in physics warp and the Kraken ate me? Because high dynamic situation and things just oscillated out of control. I don't know. But what I will do to speed this up just a hair is at the bottom of this burn, I will apply a little bit of thrust to assist in bringing down the other end of this orbit. The apoapsis is descending right now. I will apply a little bit of thrust to bring that down, not just below 70K, but like well into the atmosphere, so that the descent happens just a little bit quicker, because it's not going to impact the profile of how much speed I have and all of that. It's just going to make the stream run a little faster. So I need to mark out when I'm actually at perigee. It's at 18 seconds at 38,937. Okay. There we go. Apply a little bit of thrust. Save about 700. 700 meters per second delta V. That wasn't the one where I wanted to do that burn on, is it? It's the next one, actually. Oh well. Lost a little fuel, that's fine. Just remind me to, I guess, save the game when I get out to the I'm not going to revert at this point. I didn't spend that much fuel. And I can afford to spend a little bit more. Alright. Alright, so pop me out to apoapsis, please. Warp here. Save the game, go to retro. Actually, do I want to probably sync it down to 35? Let's do that. Good enough. Let's go. Okay, physics time warp for at least a little bit of this. Yeah, you can see it was introducing just a little bit of extra wobble there, and I don't know if that's just an artifact of the accelerated time, but I don't want to be at high physics warp when I'm down in the bowels of arrival at the planet. I can get to about here, and now I'm going to want to stop doing that. For those of you who don't know, the two time warp systems, for people who are going to see this afterward, two time warp systems. If you're out in space, there's no thrust being applied to your craft. You're just literally leaving everything to Sir Isaac Newton being in the driver's seat. You're just floating through space, following the paths of orbits. You have a time warp that you can accelerate up to 10, 100, 1,000, 100,000 times, as long as you're not like super near a planet where it starts to limit you a little bit, but you can accelerate really, really, really fast. It doesn't run the physics when it's doing that, it just, because you can do everything through orbital calculations, or it does it through orbital calculations. When you're in a space where you're being buffeted around by forces, rocket engines, physical impacts, atmosphere in particular, you can use a different kind of acceleration to run the physics engine faster, bigger steps, but that runs the risk of making the simulation unstable. So some in low pressure, if you like, situations, low jostling situations, you can run it at up to 4 times. But in high stress situations where things are really tweaked, such as re-entry like this, you don't really want to run the physics fast at all. So apoapsis is dropping below, and it's going to drop well below. So once again, this is our last re-entry already. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're not even going up anymore. All right, so definitely make sure time warp is back to just ordinary running of the program, no acceleration of any kind. Hopefully, what's our battery situation like? Oh, we got lots of charge, so it's not because of a loss of electrical control that we had that problem. All right. I was trying to figure out what the deploy and deploy direction were for, and why that would even matter when it's bounded in the orientation you want them to be, quote, deployed at. And I could see it being that under some circumstances you want it to be deflected when you're doing actual aeronautics with aircraft. Setting a trim, as it were. Doesn't apply here. Ride this as far down as I reasonably can, but I'm running out of time. I'm only going to get another 690 delta V out of this, so that's going to take it below 1,000. I'm going to say let's give it a go at the 20K mark. There we go. Now, I'm not going to burn all of it. I'm going to leave some for when I'm just above the surface, just to help the landing, because I am coming in a little hard. Mind you, I did add more parachutes, more main parachutes. So set that to land in case we happen to come over land. Alright, just gotta slow down and come to the right level in order to deploy. There we go. There's the drogue chutes. Cut off engines. That's gonna help slow us down part way. And now main chutes can be safely deployed. And none of these are really applying too much lowering of speed right now because they're not sort of inflated, as it were. They're not catching the wind. But very shortly, the drogues are going to. All automatic. You can set up the heights and pressures at which that occurs. Come on. That would be good. Making me nervous. Oh, it's at 2,500 when those deploy, and 1,000 when those deploy. You can change those values a little bit, but there we go. That slows us down to the point that the upper chutes won't rip off. Actually, I don't really need them on this because we can already see that I was able to deploy the big chutes before the little ones even deploy. But I do like having the drogues as an extra safety measure. So you can see that I'm 8 meters per second isn't bad. That's not terrible. Alright, so we are descending. And when we get really close, we're going to apply some rocket thrust just to help alleviate that a little further. Yeah, adding the extra chutes cut off about an extra 2 meters per second. It didn't double my speed loss or anything, but it does help a little. Alright, come on, we gotta get down a little bit harder here. Alright, here we go, and thrust, and use that vectoring to help tilt us sideways so that when we impact, we lower the craft with the chute still up, which helps this impact be less obnoxious. And there we go. We got everyone home, including our favorite pilot, Rainbow Dash. So there we go. We got everybody down. Let's recover that vessel. Let's see how we did on the cash front and the science front. Oh, nice chunk of change. That did us a good service. All right, so 307 science. So we got lots of science. Our funds are doing pretty good. Our reputation is through the roof. We could spend that reputation on a lot of stuff, and we probably should. I wonder if we can get. Can we take reputation and turn it into science? No, that takes 5% of science. That's an appreciation campaign. So this, that's a bailout grant, which you don't want to do. Recovery transponder fitting that enables better recovery, better money back for vessel recovery. Probably want to do that as well. I don't want to detract from science or funds. So it's funds to milestone, reputation to milestone, and science to fieldwork gains. No, I don't want to sell. I don't want to get rid of science gains. I want to be science heavy on this run. So okay, let us save the game. So first of all, what's my naming convention here? What am I up to? I'm up to 008, so this is going to be 008B. Save game. 008B. Rescues. Yay, okay, so what are we gonna do here? We could just potentially just launch. Let's well, with one tweak. So here we go. We're gonna go in. We're going to open up this guy, the original biceps, which has a pretty good workable design, except that I'm going to need to figure out what I want to do instead about now. I don't have any science on this because I don't need to do much science in near Kerbin orbit. Although I might be able to do additional science way out there in Kerbin, so I'm gonna have to remember to do that when I have like maybe a satellite deployment that I want to do. I could do some science then, but this one has monopropellant and RCS to help with the rescue. However, what I want to check is under command and control. No. The MK1 lander can has a crew capacity of 1. Its mass is 0.556. The standard command is 0.746. So what I could do is use the lander can and get a person in with less mass than the main craft, and I may have to do that. The Mark II command pod is actually heavier, so what's the benefit here? Higher electric charge built in. Well, so that's twice the mass. It has a crew capacity of 2. Interesting. So, although it's twice the mass, it does have the crew capacity of 2, but it also comes with extra electric charge, so I could get rid of the batteries. See, these are the trade-offs you have to start considering. What other features do we have? What about cargo? Payload? Service bay? I can't put people into that. Alright. Let's take a quick look over at the science station and see if we have anything available to us that would enable us to just take back a boatload of passengers at once. No drama, just get them back. You don't need to see stuff. So, space exploration. The Hitchhiker storage container, crew capacity 4, mass 2 tons. So that's actually a considerable savings. I kind of want that. That would require me to spend 90 science on that, though. So what do I get out of it in addition to that? Ladders. So totally worth getting. I'm going to be getting this anyway. Also an EVA repair kit, so I can start exploring what that does. Work lamps and stands. I guess that's for if you're on the surface of Moon and you want to do repairs down there. That's actually kind of cool. I'm so glad they added some of this stuff. Some wheels, so that's a thing. Experimental control station. Coordinates and controls both power and data from nearby deployed parts, and coordinate sending it back to Kerbin. It needs an employed power unit to operate. Right. So under electrical stuff, do we have stuff that's a power unit? Possibly the battery banks, plus a photovoltaic panel. So the Oxstat PD photovoltaic panel can, when properly set up by trained engineers, power several groundbreaking science experiments at a time. Reduced power output caused by allowing Jebediah to just unfold the flippy bit is not covered. Needs a deployed central station to operate. Bring a trained engineer. This part will only produce enough power for one other unit. So, okay, that's very interesting. So when I start doing my landed moon missions, which is going to happen probably even on this stream, depending on how fast I can get the next few missions done, I'm going to start experimenting with some of this stuff because this stuff is new. Probably another reason why I want to hold off doing that administration thing where 90% of my, or 60% of my funds go into science. But I really, really do want to expand the science super fast if I can. That's just the way I do things. All right, so space exploration, we're totally getting that. Does the miniaturization thing get us something important? What would happen if you lost some mystery goo in the weird radiation or atmosphere of some faraway planet? So this is a long range goo thing, and it requires to deploy power units. So there's a lot of stuff that you can deploy that's sort of... It's not... You don't need a space station to do that kind of science, because that's kind of... In previous editions of Kerbal Space Program, you more or less either just transmitted stuff back from your spacecraft, which I never did because I like doing it personally, like bringing it back, or you deploy an entire space station, man it with Kerbals, and then they generate science from the environment and that's how you got massive amounts of science. Now there seems to be an intermediate stage, which is kind of cool. But back to the issue. Ports. We got some adapter ports, junior docking ports. Yeah, could use those to couple some big ships together. Although I'm given to understand now you could weld ships together in orbit, or weld stuff together in orbit. I'm hoping you can eventually weld two ships together. Because what I used to do is what everybody used to do, which is if you wanted to stick two ships together, you'd use a docking port. And specifically what I would do, which I love doing, but it was painfully slow to accomplish, get a central shaft, which was a central core, which is sort of a living quarters for a long-range ship, and then maybe have like a short shaft on it with like some fuel and like a maneuvering rocket. But then you would clamp on using a pair of docking clamps on each side, like a big honking like booster stage that you would assemble in orbit. But the only way to assemble stuff in orbit was to use docking clamps, and the only way to really make it stable for really powerful engines was to use like a pair of them. And you had to dock two docking ports together at the same time, and it was miserably hard, and I bet you it still is. So if you can weld two ships together, I'd be perfectly happy with that. Or unweld. I have never done this. This part of KSP I am blind to. I'm rambling. Let's see what we can do. Landing. Do I need anything landing? Not yet, but I will later. I don't use the aerodynamic stuff yet. Advanced construction, better ways of doing decoupling. That's fine. Fuel systems I might want to get in advance because I can do fuel routing, which enables me to do more complicated things with fuel systems for asparagus staging, advanced staging techniques. Don't really need any of this yet. Might need it when I do my moon rocket, though. Can I do heavy rocketry? I can. Bigger fuel boosters, really big fuel boosters. So that, and do I have better fuel? Lots of interesting designs here. Bigger fuel tanks. That might help me get to moon. Later. We're going to solve that later. I am seriously spinning my wheels. So when I go to the moon, maybe I'll build a brand new ship using brand new parts. One more thing to check. There's that thing about picking up rocks. Requires an EVA. Can I do that already? I can currently, EVAs can place flags, can perform EVAs and 12 active Kerbals. Right, so that doesn't determine whether or not I can pick up rocks. Tracking? No. That's just R&D limits. Why did I think that I needed an upgrade before I could collect rocks? What was the thing there? I don't know. I guess maybe I'm okay on that front. Anyway, let's launch. Oh, no, let's not launch. Let's rebuild this ship. So biceps, we're going to call this biceps 3. We're going to call it biceps 1A. It's really just a variant on the 1A, and it's meant to be local. So save this. So we're going to need the monopropellant back, but we'll re-add that in a second. We are going to That's the primary capsule. It's unfortunate that it's at the bottom, but okay, so I could take our solar panels out. Take the batteries out. Take this off. Take this off. Let's add... That's the lander can. Is it payload? Where the heck is it? That's the lander can. That's the octo. So Equipnik. Pretty sure I bought the tech, so which section is it under? Cargo. Conformal storage unit, not what I want. Oh, I'm having a moment. Where is... robotics? It's an experiment storage unit. I can't find it. Is it under utility? Maybe it's under utility. Hitchhiker storage container. That's the one we want. It's gonna cost us a pretty penny, but it should probably save us a boatload of... Oh my god, that's huge. Okay, that's a new problem, because that might not resist heat all that well. Although that does enable us to bring along a boatload of inventory. So the problem with this now becomes, since it doesn't fit well to the ship, we're gonna have to protect this, probably with... Can we even do this? I don't know how big the 1.2 meter is, but it doesn't cost me much to find out. That's not big enough. I don't think we can use this, not right now, because I'm a little worried on re-entry. It's just going to catch a bit of the heat, and I can't build a, like, for the mass that I'm saving. Alright. So we are going to not save that. We are going to go back to 1A. Right. Complicated. We're gonna have to add... Okay, we're gonna go a different route. We're going to spend money to grab the Mark II command pod, because that does 2 Kerbals at a time. It has its own heat shield. Right. Okay. So we're gonna do this again. We're gonna separate that. We're gonna pull that off. If I put this here, can I say control from here? Configure vessel naming. Because this needs to be the new I need to do the rerouting thing, and I can't remember how to do that. How do I do that? This is the reroute. So we're going to pick this one and this one, and I think that means that the second one is now the route, and this one is just a separable part. So this is now our primary. So I can get this out of the way. I got to rebuild everything here. This is a nuisance. But but I'll be able to save on a little bit of battery power. It's about the same amount of mass. So that's 2, 4. We only really need 5. So actually, can we do this? So, okay, rerouting just got a little bit more complicated, didn't it? All right, let's do. Okay, so how do I reroute? Select a set of 2 or more parts to reroute. I think that worked. Don't know how I want to do this. All right. All right. The primary reason to do this is make it less tall, because that's a serious issue. All right. So let's tuck some of these under here. Some of these in a quad formation under here. Fins, which you're going to use for re-entry, we are going to actually take those off because we have the RCS. Because it looks a little less ridiculous without them. I've got 2 of these guys. I am going to clone that and add another set, like 2 of them though, here. Drogue chutes are fine. RCS is fine. We're just going to reattach this to here. Hey, and look at that. Our struts came back because they were able to find purchase in the approximately right direction. I like this. A little bit weird, but oh, except that I want to actually move these down onto here because I'm actually going to get rid of this top module. Don't need this one anymore. And I don't need these anymore either. However, I am going to increase the amount of monopropellant because now I'm going to be using it for descent as well. So, I'm a little worried that blocks the doors. In fact, let's go back down to 2. Do a pair of them, one of them here, another one of them. I don't really have another spot for it, but let's say there. It's kind of hiding the battery that kind of makes me feel bad. That feels less hinky. I've still got the solar panels. in strategic spots. Alright. So let's see if we can do this by way of RCS. So we got a set of them down here, a set of them up at the top. The center of mass, once everything else is gone, should be kind of in the middle. Yeah. Alright. Now the one very, very last thing I want to do is see where the first mech jeb parts are. I don't think I can get mech jeb ascent. But I should be able to do mech jeb maneuver notes. And once again, for anybody who listens to this later, or anybody who happens to slide by the room while I'm saying this, I do encourage you not to use mech jeb right up front. Now that's just me. Play the game how you like, because clearly if you're not having fun with it, it's not a game. Like enjoy it. Do whatever you want to do to make your life easier. And mech jeb does make your life easier. But I'm of the opinion you should know how to do this stuff yourself before you fob stuff off on mech jeb. That being said, though, I can't use all of mech jeb's facilities in career mode because they actually have put it in the tech tree. I want to figure out where mech jeb's initial parts are. So this is no, it's just a battery. So it's under. Is it under miniaturization? No. Electrics? No. Space exploration. Where is the first one? It's got to be in here somewhere. Advanced flight control, which I already have. There's the mech jeb part. Maneuver and transform. Maneuver and translatron. So this helps do maneuver node based stuff, which is nice to have. All mech jeb modules automatically upgraded to latest firmware. Let's not purchase 7 parts, but we are going to purchase. So that's under advanced flight control. I'm gonna go find that and add that to that ship. I think it's time because I did want. Well, you know what? What I'm gonna do though. Do I really want to do that this trip? No. Nope. I'm gonna hold off. I have the part, and I don't think any of his parts come any sooner. So that is in fact the first time. The reason I'm not gonna do it is because on this stream I'm gonna do one more rescue using totally manual. Maneuvering and translation. Now I did learn from last time because it was the whole reason I split up yesterday's KSP into 2 parts and stayed up stupid late. I can't go rescue my guys with jetpacks anymore because while I can bring a jetpack for one of the Kerbals, I can't bring a jetpack and hand them off to anyone else, as it turns out. And I haven't figured out a way to do that because you can't hold 2 jetpacks; they're just too bulky. If you've ever seen an MMU from like on a space station or whatever, or when they do the whole Canadarm thing, those things are freaking huge. I wouldn't want to try to bring 2 of those. I'd like to be able to shove one out an airlock at someone else, though. Like, I don't know. It seems odd that you couldn't sort of have one strapped to your arm and then very gently use the maneuvering thrusters on the one on your back and like just edge your way over to somebody. But can't do that in this game, as far as I know. So, I am, however, going to make sure that I do have at least one on board. So, I need all 4 seats for the people I'm bringing back. Cargo is a new thing, and this is where I say, for one of my command modules, hang on, first of all, crew. Dash, get right on back in there. You are my go-to pilot for obvious reasons, and she is going to be bringing along a jetpack just in case. But you can see that because of the limits here, I could bring 2 of them by volume, but I can't bring 2 of them by weight. So that's the thing. I could bring more in the command pods, but that doesn't do me any good. So not for a rescue mission like this. So. As long as I have 1, it's all good. Okay, is this gonna work? Heaven knows. I can't wait until I have mech jeb launch assist. That will be nice. Because I've done these. This is the thing that I'd actually want to be able to automate early. But I'm playing by the rules. I am playing by the rules. I'm playing by my rules. I think they're pretty good rules, though. Here we go. Alright, so I'm starting to tip over a little bit. pretty stable. Hold on to prograde, and as this last bit of fuel runs out, dump them off. I think this is a good angle. I'm above 45, about 22, maybe 30 degrees, which I think is okay to set up the sort of forced start to the gravity turn, get rid of some of those solids. Alright, here we go. Let's monitor things. We're ascending nicely. We're at about 2/3 higher apoapsis than our current height, and it seems to be staying that way. And on top of that, we are getting well into the thin atmosphere before we start going seriously sideways. I'm feeling pretty good about this. But when this is actually one of my better ones, I think. Because we're getting to really serious atmosphere at about the time that we're picking up some serious speed, about 1,000 meters per second. So we're no longer having frictional problems, and apoapsis is going to climb well above 70 by the time we stop this. And I don't mind being a little bit high on this because I'm going to want to be above in orbit the other rockets, who are all, I think I should double check this, lower down. So we've got one at 84, another at 80 again. Yeah, these are all roughly close to the limit. So I'm going to want to be at 150 apoapsis anyway in order to be able to let them like orbit under me. So let's actually just let this burn. Let's let this burn and get us up to 150, because we're going to want to do that anyway. And doing it in one pass, where I get this up to 150 and then raise the other side, is more efficient than circularizing at 150 and then raising one half of it, I think. Not sure I have the math knowledge to run those numbers, but... I can actually physics time warp this, I think. Might have to hold down the Alt key to force it, but you don't always have to do, but in this case it appears I have to. So there we go. This will also, incidentally, make it easier to push up apoapsis, periapsis, up to, like, circularize the orbit is what I mean. I will put on mech jump though after this for the bits that that I can make faster with the maneuver nodes. I think the reason I don't want to do it here is I want to make one more pass to fully sort of get back into the mode of being able to do this intercept manually, because I was having a little trouble with it yesterday, and I finally got my crap together by the end of the two pieces, the two parts. But I just want to cement that knowledge in my head. All right, so let's get up to here, and I may have muffed this because I need to push real hard to. Yeah, I have gotten too close to this. So in order to compensate, I'm going to aim upward a little hard so that apoapsis stays ahead of me. But it's actually a lot easier to do here. Yeah, look at that. It's rising really, really fast. And now it's getting away from me. So I can lower my nose down just a bit. comes. It's at this point where I'm pretty sure I can go full prograde. So I'm not going to gain any real height. Maximize the speed at which I can raise up periapsis. And keep in mind, I have to get this all the way up to 150 to have a circular orbit. The one thing I don't want to try to do is do a direct intercept with a ship. I mean, if you're really good, you can start doing that kind of nonsense. I'm not that good. In order to do this kind of thing, I do like to have a circular orbit at the top, because now what we're going to do is we're going to try to target probably this ship is just following us. So set that as target. First order of business to get our planes matched, because that just makes everything easier if you do that first. So the ascending and descending node, we are out by about 1 degree. That means that our orbit is tilted by about 1 degree relative to it. So at either the ascending or descending node, I want to make the correction. So now that we can actually do this, let's add a maneuver at the ascending node, and then we are going to correct for it. It looks like I have to tip the back end up. Back end is orbit up. Wrong direction, so we're going to just adjust it this way. And as you do this, you can see that the ascending node races away from us. So when the ascending node starts to get basically 90 degrees around the planet, it's probably gone to 0 because it's racing around like a mad fiend. Like right about there. Yeah, there we go. Right. All right, here we go. That set up my maneuver node at the right point in time, right when the orbits cross over each other, and I am flattening out the orbit. It's not a long burn, but it's an important one. So let's warp there. Because this will just make that intercept way, like a million times easier. All right, so we're approaching pretty quickly here. We are on target. I'm gonna do a half speed burn because I don't want to overshoot, but that means that I need to do 12 seconds burn. Sorry, half acceleration. You know what I meant. That's gonna be a 12-second burn, but that means halfway at 6 seconds, which means that I need to be T-minus 6 seconds. It's a really short burn. I don't like doing long burns. Actually, maybe I'll do it 12. 12:24. So I'm gonna do a quarter speed burn. Here we go. So this should cross over roughly when I get to T-minus 0. Quarter speed burn complete. Slower burns. Really good for short burns. Just have to know how to adjust your start and stop time. So there we go. I am now perfectly flat with all the orbits of these other craft. Now, I said I wanted to try to get Jorbin's craft because he's one of the... I think he's one of the guys. I got a bunch of derelicts up here, so let's be extra careful. Save Luli Limble's Jobin. So is this Jobin? This is Jobin. It's currently set as my target. I don't know what right-clicking on it does. Seems to be highlighting it, and I don't know why. But in any case, hits my target. So having done that, I should now be able to do an add maneuver. And because it's my target, somewhere in my orbit, I'm going to be able to do an intercept. The first thing I want to do is ignore time for a moment, and I want to set my orbit up so that it intersects with that lower orbit. And ignoring all the markers, I just want this to be at the right height. So first stage is to get... shift my focus a bit. Jorbin is... No, that's Limble's. Sorry, Jobin is 83,770 something. So it's about 83,700. It's not going to be exact because it's not perfectly circular. So that's 86. It's going to come... No, wrong way. 84... 84, 75, that was way too hard. This is a little painful, and I wish they had a... Oh. Look at all this. That's pretty cool. Can I actually... I can't edit these, can I? Because it would be nice if I could actually edit these. Toggle map, docking mode. Oh god, there's so many things on here. Graphical editor. Text maneuver editor. That's funky. I have never... I've always only used the maneuver notes here. So there you go. Another thing, 32RQ, is that when you have maneuvers up, you also have additional controls down here. This is new to me. That's fine. That's pretty cool. Warp to next maneuver. Delete that maneuver. A lot of this stuff I used to have to use MechJeb for. And I may still use MechJeb because I'm familiar with the interface, and it's got a lot more power, I think, than this does. But, you know... If you could go in here and actually literally edit this manually by hand by tweaking the numbers, like it might be easier to... Like what I really want to do is I want to set apoapsis and periapsis, to be exact. So I want to get this down to 83,700, because Jobin is... Altitude is 82... So I don't know what it's going to be when it's down here. That's the problem. All right, so let's ignore that for the moment. Let's go with the fact that... where's Jobin? I somehow got him unset as target, but that's okay. So having gotten the height roughly correct, the problem is here that the... So I am obviously a little bit too high because what's going to... sorry, I'm coming in a little too low maybe because what's happening here is I'm getting 2 intercepts. And so I know I'm not at the right height because if I was going to touch exactly at the right point, these 2... intercepts would be on top of one another. Essentially, I'm crossing its path and then recrossing it on the other side of the orbit. So one trick I can do here to try to get this a little closer is watch these as I very slightly adjust the orbit until I only get 1 intercept. So that's going to be better for that particular location. I'll have to keep tweaking that as I go. But now what I want to do is they are separated in time, and 134 kilometers apart is too far. So I'm going to slide this around and watch as they get closer together. But notice that as I've slid it around, they become separated again. No, they're not now. Because at different points in the orbit, they may or may not cross each other or just touch. Ooh, look at that. Separation 1 kilometer. I'm not going to touch that. That's nearly perfect. So, 2 stages to this. 1, you're in a higher or lower orbit in order so that your speeds don't match so you can catch up to one another. 2, make the other side of your orbit touch the target orbit. That's a transfer. 3, see whether you got 2 or 1 intercept. Try to get it so that it's only 1 intercept by adjusting the forward and back thrust. And then 4, slide it around in time and then make corrections just like number 3. Repeat 3 and 4 until you get about 1 meter less than 5 meter separation. Sorry, 5 kilometer separation is probably good. Less than 10 if it's a really tough thing, because correcting it when you get there is awkward. But 10 kilometers is probably okay. I like to get it as tight as possible because there will be error. And actually, stage 0 is actually getting the planes to match, because that just makes all of this infinitely easier if you do that as the very first thing. Alright, so making a whole orbit. We've got lots of liquid fuel to do maneuvers. We're going to do a slow burn to make this happen, because it's fairly short. So I'm going to say burn time 32. Burn time is going to be 32 for 1/4 burn, which means I need to split that over this, so 16. T minus 16 is when I do my quad speed burn. Because everything's calibrated to a hard full burn. And then you just split your burn time in half over the node. I like doing slow burns when it's short. It's just easier to control. Aiming for 16. Quarter speed burn. Quarter speed burn in the wrong direction because I'm not pointed in the right direction. That is a mess. Let's go and fix that immediately because I'm an idiot. But if we do this fast enough, we might be able to... Yeah, we're just going to have to do a hard burn now. So I want to correct this as fast as possible. Let's just chase off after this and try to get this down to as near 0 as we can reasonably get. That was unbelievably dumb. All right. Let's start there and see how close we actually got. Without the maneuver node, we now see that we're... Holy crap, we actually did even better just by accident. Well, that's fine. So I introduced an error by thrusting badly. I corrected for it as fast as I could, which means I zeroed out its effects. That could have amplified over the course of an orbit. It turned out not to. I'm super duper happy with that. Now, when we get here, what we're going to want to do is we want to click this to go to target, because we have a set target. We're going to want to, when we get there, be retrograde. I'm going to do it early, but it'll readjust when it gets there. Because we're going to want to slow down. We're going to have a difference in speed when we get there. We're matching position, but not speed. And so we're going to warp here in our orbit. All of it's coming back to me. All right. I can't remember... Apoapsis and periapsis, orbital information, the period that we have. That's great information that I just didn't know about. Right. Lots more panels to look at stuff if you want knowledge and numbers. What was the docking mode? I forgot about docking mode. Oh, maneuver mode? I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to experiment with that amount of time. Anyway, looking at what we have here, we are approaching this pretty quickly. Let's start our burn. It's actually retro. Yes, it's retro to target. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Okay. So Dundard's Heap is not the one we're after. We actually should be right on top of this. So let's go take a look around and see if we can spot it. Can we get a hint? It's got to be pretty close. Can we get a hint if we retarget on our ship and then get real close? Can we see the other craft? Like cursoring over it. I wish we could get a lot closer in this mode. We are... only 237 meters. That should actually be close enough for a visual view. But we do have to find it, and I'm not quite sure which direction it's in. But we can use this to help us out. So we're going to say, go to the prograde marker. So you're going to want to accelerate towards it. Then we follow in the direction of our ship. When we're there, it should be over there somewhere. I'm not sure I'm seeing it, but that's my... No, hang on, that's my direction. Target, that's anti-target. Gotta know what the markers are. This is towards target. Is that it? There it is. All right. Okay, so the nav ball serves two purposes. It tells us the direction of things, like the target, but it also but for pretty much everything else, it tells us the direction of motion. What I want to do is get my forward motion to match its direction. And to do that, I kind of want to, so there's my forward marker in the bottom left. I'm going to go onto this side of that marker, and I'm going to apply acceleration, which is going to pull the forward marker over on top of my forward motion marker on top of its direction marker. So now I'm headed more or less directly towards it. I'm going to make a little bit of a tweak here. I'm not heading towards it very quickly. If I don't close that gap fast enough, our very slight difference in distance and in velocities will peel us apart in the orbit, and I kind of want to avoid that. So there we go, and now we're going to go prograde, and we're going to thrust directly at it. Not quite prograde, actually, a little bit off prograde, but you know what I mean. Uh-oh, 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 that's bad. That's bad because we're going to overshoot. All right, I overdid that a little. I didn't realize how close we were going to do. Retrograde, please. Let's go a little bit over here. Nudge that over. Well, let's get in retrograde position immediately. Okay, there we go. We're pretty close. Actually, that's absurd to be that close that quickly. So so here's the problem. I don't think he's going to have the ability to. You know what? F5 now. Save now, save often. He's not going to have the ability to fly over, so we're just going to do an EVA, and we're going to have him let go of his ship. Now we go back to me. We're going to get behind my craft. No, I'm going to get in front of my craft because that's where all the capsules are. I'm going to turn on RCS. I'm going to orient myself so that left and right makes sense. Because I'm going to have to do this optically because I haven't figured out how to do this any other way. I should actually check out toggle map, toggle docking mode. Except I'm not really targeting a dock, so that really doesn't help. Right, whatever. Let's, so I'm going to view it from this side. So left, right, up, down. And actually, those are my alternate controls. I want to get used to using these maneuver controls. So this is translation, and I fixed my translation keys. I found out you can remap the keys in the very front end menu. Before you hit the, I guess it's the pre-main menu, I guess. I had to exit almost all the way out of the program to get there. Alright, so hang on, we got a problem. Where is he relative to the craft? I want to kind of punt the craft itself out of the way. So with that in mind, my vertical thrust is going to take me this direction. So I should just be able to bump it, because I just don't want it in my way. So can I switch over and just immediately bring him in? Yes, I can. He can grab, and he can board. That is not the camera I wanted. I want B, not C, because I can't apparently type. It's not chase cam, it's free cam that I want. So you need to walk up a little bit and just board. Just get in there. One rescued pilot. Feeling chuffed about this. Right, so now the thing is that we have to get ourselves back up to 150K. we're nearly along the planar orbit that we had before because we're literally floating along with the ship that was in planar orbit. So in principle, all we need to do is set ourselves back to orbit mode, go to prograde, turn off RCS so we preserve it, because we're going to need as much of that as we can for landing. And hit the engines. We can ignore the control points. Oh, went a little far. That's fine. Warp to here. Doesn't really matter that we didn't get to 150. Actually, being further out will make the weighting less because the difference in our speeds will be greater. So now we want to do we want to do prograde. We do want to do prograde because we want to elevate our periapsis up to 182. Right, done that. Let's check our ascending and descending node. That's not it. There it is. Still at 0 degrees, so very close to being planar, which is enough for us. We're going to set our target to be... is it Raybury is another one of our targets? Dunderd Kerman, Jobin Kerman. So, no. That's Rayburn's craft from earlier, from one of our previous missions. We're going to have to unmark these at the tracking station so that we can get rid of them. Linbulls? Linbulls is one of the ones we want. Set you as target. Totally saving, by the way. Right. So we got quite a ways to go, so I'm betting that I have to be quite close to the end of an orbit or into the next one. So let's do this again. Here we go. So can we actually control this way? We can. So we can grab here instead of grabbing in space, which actually could be useful. Whoa, but it is seriously twitchy. That does enable us to go forward and ahead in time, though, so that's another nice control scheme. Nice, nice. I like this. This goes forward and backward in the full orbit, so that's cool. So all of these controls are essentially mimicked here if you want. Plus, you have the ability to futz with this by hand. So here we go. We're gonna do this manually just to get a feel for it. So we want to get all the way down to near this orbit. Oh, there's our split. There's our split trajectories, which means that we probably have to there. So that's where we're covering and just touching that part of the orbit. But it's quite largely separated in time, our closest approach. Going backward is... It's actually making them get closer. So, okay, so maybe it's roughly about here that we have to do this. That's nice. Let's make these not be a twin intercept. We want to be these a unitary intercept. So that's pretty close now. Now, so let's... it's 3.4 kilometers. Let's get these right on top of one another in time, if we can. Right there. Look at that, 0.1 kilometers. We don't even have to fiddle much else with the orbits. That's going to be as close as we're likely to get. All right, so right, sure. Let's warp to here. Whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want to go prograde here. Actually, closer to retrograde than prograde, but actually I want to turn off the particular targeting because we don't have target maneuver node abilities yet. So there we go. We are manually targeting the maneuver node. We're going to do a quarter speed burn, which means 40 seconds. Split that to 20. So at T-minus 20, we're going to do a quarter speed burn, and we are now pointed in the right direction, so we're not going to screw it up like last time. quarter acceleration burn. You knew what I mean. There we go. Keep us. Whoop! There we go, and we kind of overshot a little bit. Let's go and retweak that because why not? There we go. So, closing off the maneuver node, let's find out how well we did. Where is our intercept point going to be? It's going to be here, and we're only going to be 0.8 kilometers apart. That's actually pretty good. So what we're going to do is roughly about, we're going to save that for one thing. Once we get about there, we're going to warp to here. We're also going to be prepped to do retro burn, and we're going to be prepped to be retro burn to target. So all of those things are going to be ready. Except it appears that we are heading away from it. So actually we need to... No. Actually, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm a moron. We're going 75.8 meters per second. Different speed than it. It doesn't really matter. We want a retro burn relative to target. Now, instead of positioning based on velocity, this is actually positioning or orienting us based on actual target. So 72 meters per second probably won't take us long. I wish I knew exactly how much, but we are 17 seconds. I'm going to give it a 10-second burn. I would have to work out what our thrust what our ISP is on that and do the math, and I can't. So, 5 seconds. Not bleeding this. I did not do that early enough, but that's okay. So we are now not moving relative to that craft, but we still could be a little bit of distance from it. And in fact, let's refocus on us. How far out are we? A little hard to... This bit of user interface could use a little work, but... Well, it's got to be pretty close. Well, let's aim at it, which is actually in that direction. I think. So there it is. We're going to go prograde, or basically straight at it here. Don't know where it is though. Does this give us any information about our target? Advanced info for Linval's Hulk. Oh, hello. Intersect 1, intersect 2, T minus. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So new intersect information. One of them is a minute away, but we can reduce that by doing an acceleration burn. So that doesn't tell us distance. Oh, but it does, doesn't it? 104.508 meters. I can't quite get an understanding. I'm having a hard time getting an understanding of how far away I am based on like the numbers that I can see here. Can I get a... Oh, there we go. Oh, look, the distance is... Oh my god, the distance is closing fast. Retrograde, please. There it is. There it is. So that intercept kind of lied to me a little bit in terms of the intercept position, and I'm not entirely. Come on, stop messing with me. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's okay. So we're gonna do this. I'm actually going to position myself actually more or less in line with my retrograde in order to pull that over. So now again, my forward velocity marker is pretty close. Oh, kind of overshot there a little bit. That's fine. I can go and adjust. So this interception point is this is actually point of closest intercept rather than, and that's fine. That's ridiculously close. This time to intercept is actually what I want. It's not actually giving me a distance to craft, which I would actually kind of like, if I'm honest. I should not have done that, because I might smack it, but that's alright. So... Alright, so there we go. There we go. I'm just getting used to reading all of these new numbers that I have access to, and it's like super cool. So again, I'm going to position myself at this end, turn on RCS, get into my position for that's got my orientation okay, so that I can just use my thrusters. That's fine. Am I floating backwards relative to it? Just a bit. So we are going to how are we doing forward and backward motion? Need to go a little bit. I need to learn more numeric facilities on this thing to give me an understanding. Okay, so we're going to just lightly bump it here, but that doesn't matter. So we're going to switch over to Linby's Kerbal. EVA, so he's going to pop out and say hi. Sort of. You going to pop out? Oh, look at that. It's actually obstructed because the ship's too close. Alright, that's fine. Let it tumble a bit. That was not a good thing to do. Alright. Well, that was one way to get rid of his craft. I don't think he's going to impact somewhere that he can easily grab, but maybe. Oh, maybe? Cannot board a full module. So the problem here is that I need to actually yeah, I'm gonna have to he actually did drift right into the craft. That's kind of hilarious. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to, good God, stress level's a little high here. Okay, so RCS needs to be, no, not him. This guy needs to, I need to very carefully go definitely have to make sure you're hitting the right keys. This is the problem I was having before, and now I'm hitting the wrong keys again. So there we go. I'm a little bit off sideways, so I'm just going to boot it over this direction. That's pretty good. Now we're going to drift that way and switch over and hopefully grab the right craft. Come on. Grab. And board. F5 now forever. Oh, feeling good. Feeling good. We got 2 of the 3 rescued. This is going to be a long mission. But it'll be good because we're doing all of these at once. It would be even longer if we had to do these separately. Because of all the up and downness of it. Alright, so next thing's next. So we're going to switch back over to orbit. We're going to go prograde because we want to elevate. And turn off our RCS because we want to preserve that. And how are we doing? You know what? We'll fix our... Actually, how is our... if we want to get to... It's either... no, it's not that one. It's... is Raybury one of the ones we have to get? No, it's either Dunard or Llewellyn. Llewellyn's the next one, maybe, if we can do it. So, set as the target. The ascending and descending node information tells us we're still at 0 degrees, so that's great. So let's only go up as far as, again, about 150. Because we're actually pretty close. That'll do. We're actually pretty close to the craft that we want to intercept, I think. That's biceps. Yeah, we've only got about a quarter of an orbit, and it's going to take us a little bit in order to be able to set this all up. So we're not doing ourselves any harm by taking a... I'm just going to use the Warp 2 facility. By taking a... the more of our difference in orbit, the more the difference in speeds that we're both going to be going. So small... we need to prograde. Small differences in orbital distance are small differences in speed, so we can tune the quickness with which the two of us approach. So here we go. We need to raise this up to 153. I could try to do some really complicated direct intercept from that elliptical orbit, but unless I have no other choice because of fuel concerns, that's just too much work. It's always easy to do it from 2 circular or near circular orbits. Right, I think I said that once before, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. So now we have Llewellyn here. Let's say we start arbitrarily. Let's start over here. Let's lower that down until we get perhaps just down until it just touches the other orbit. There's our intercept. Right. So let's drag, but they're separated in time by a bit, so let's drag this around. We're pretty close to right about there. Where did I lose it? It's over here somewhere. Did I accidentally... Oh, I accidentally unselected... Does double-clicking on a thing unselect your target? Because that should just change the focus, not your... Oh, that's irritating. Okay. Irritating and slightly unexpected, but that's exactly what happens. So if I double-click on this... Oops. Let's go all the way back home. If I double-click on this to change the focus... I unset that as a target. That's an interesting thing. How can I change... Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to change focus. Can I right-click on something and change focus? I don't know. And I don't know why it dims when I right-click on the craft, so... Weirdness. Okay. Not entirely sure what I've done here. Okay, no, there's the intersect point. It's 5.6 kilometers out. So left click on that, pick up the ring, which I can barely see. That's better. That is not what I wanted to do. I did not want to adjust it in that fashion. I bet you there's no undo. Can I control Z? No, I can't. Alright. Oh, very irritating. I grabbed the wrong control thing, which is actually a good reason why to do it on this control panel down here. Right. Bring that back up until it's a single. Here we go. Right. About there. 0.5 kilometers is plenty. That's close enough. I don't need to do any other fettling. All right. So I'm going to want to be ready to do that node. So I'm going to set myself up. That's the... Come on, let go. That's the maneuver node. I'm now going to warp to that maneuver node. It's an 8-second burn. All right. Quadruple that, 32 to get it to quarter speed. Cut it in half to split it over the node, that's 16. So at T-minus 16, I'm going to do a quarter speed burn. Here we go. Some very slight nudging to keep it on center. Okay, let's take it easy. And chase that maneuver node direction down. How close are we? Probably pretty close. Let's kick it off and see where we are. We are 0.8 kilometers. That's plenty. All right. So once again, we're going to want to switch over to target. We're going to want to say retrograde, and we're going to want to do a burn, and we're going to give it a good solid 10 seconds here instead of... All right. We are 24 seconds away, and we only have to burn off about 58.7 meters per second acceleration. So at 10-second mark, I think I'm going to do it. It's not a super powerful engine, but... All right, so there we go. And in order to head towards it, we're going to want to go in this direction. And now our approach information says that we are... I don't understand what that means. Time to reach intersect 1, but that's clearly not true. The thing that we're actually after is right next to us, isn't it? Yeah. So, refocus. I think it thinks we're targeting a different craft at the moment. I think that's why that's happening. No, it thinks it's targeting... Okay. Don't know what that's quite about. Let's give a quick burst of speed here to find out where we're going here. Oh, I know why it thinks that, because maybe we're not accelerating towards it, so it hasn't sort of updated that. Let's find out. See, now it's adjusting our position because we're actually heading towards it and at a not sucky rate. All right. Okay, so now those are aligned, and I'm making at least somewhat of an effort to actually get there. And it's saying it's going to take us 5 minutes to get there. Well, clearly we have to lower that down considerably. So let's just apply some thrust and say within 30 seconds, we want to be able to get there. Right? So we keep applying thrust in this direction. I love this extra information. So there's our 30-second mark. We do the retrograde. We're going to do a retro burn when we get super, super close. And now, by looking backwards along our ship, we should even be able to see it. That might be it. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So let's start reining this in. That's not bad. I'm getting way better at this. I'm just going to use my maneuvering thrusters to close that gap. So let's go into RCS mode. With RCS actually on. Thank you. That would be great. So we're going to... laterally get us sort of reasonably well positioned. That'll do for the moment. Let's go sideways here. Let's... okay, so I'm rotated around the wrong way for my comfort. There we go. Just so at least a couple of my jets are oriented in the right way visually for the amount of adjustments, or for the kind of adjustment I'm going to make. So there we go. All right. That's pretty good. So give me some information on this. Do we only have Job and Kerman in the top one. So let's see if we can get this guy in the same one. So to do this, we want to switch over. Actually, the first thing we want to do is we want to save the game. So we're going to switch over. We're going to hit EVA. Uh-oh. That's less good than it could be. Okay, so we have to switch back over and go chasing off after our buddy here. That's problematic. Let's... Okay, I am moving way too fast here. Okay, this is going to take a little bit more effort, because that was a super serious getting flung out into the middle of nowhere. Okay, how are you doing? All right. Sorry, I'm not talking a whole lot here. This just got a little bit scary. All right, so now we got to figure out. Whew. All right. I think we're okay. What's our monopropellant doing? Not great, if I'm honest. This took a lot more monopropellant than I thought it was going to take, but hey, if we can only get 3 down, we can only get 3 down, but we're going to do our best. So, hang on. Okay. Can we grab? Can we grab? Not the right one. Can we grab? Come on. No, we can't. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Just requires a little bit of a micro adjustment here. So we need to go. We want to go. Using a lot more propellant than I would have liked. I could revert, but I'm going to try not to. So then we want to go down, over, switch over. Can we do this? Nope. Nope, 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 nope. How are we doing on our fuel? Because this is kind of critical. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because that was fairly scary, I am going to do a revert. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I don't like doing that for the narrative's sake, but don't worry about talking, just carry on. Yeah, and also I would have reverted the save. Yeah, I kind of have this balance thing here. I want to play this with mistakes. I want to correct my mistakes. I want to try to solve a problem and correct for it. But little micro mistakes like that are either finger twitches or weird physics freakouts that I don't expect, or I don't know. Like, should I be able to compensate? Yes, eventually I should be able to compensate. So it's a tough call for me. See, yeah, that's just going to happen no matter what I do. So this is the new annoyance, is that I have to go chasing off after this one. I'm going to turn off the RCS for the moment. Try to get oriented in roughly the right direction to use the mains. Here we go. Why does my craft feel like it's doing something? Okay, I don't know what that's all about, but wow, that's booking it. Hang on. Come on. This is gonna be tougher than anticipated. Way too fast, way too fast. All right, gotta focus here. As I try to figure out how to reorient my craft to do a fairly simple burn, very slow change in speed. Okay, that's fine. Great gravy train. Okay. Do I have... Yes, I have... My orientation is close to what I want, so... Where are you? I don't think I have room on that, but if you're close enough... No, you're not. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so let's be real delicate on the controls here. Real delicate. So I want to adjust my forward and back just a bit. Try to get him in line with that front cabin. That'll do. I get it horizontally oriented with that front cabin. That'll do. Now he's going to have to enter in actually on that side, so that's actually a good thing. Okay, some more horizontal tweaking just to zero out that velocity as best I can. Let's get the forward and backward. That's not what I wanted to do. Right. And... Is that coming up appropriately? It's looking pretty good for alignment. Pretty good for alignment. Oh, you were going to miss it by a hair. That is rude. Really? Can you not grab? Is that the side? That is the side he's supposed to grab on. Okay, so I gotta be... That is not quite right. Okay. He has no control over his tumbling. That's why this is a little bit tricky. Hang on. Why are you wandering? Have I been hitting the wrong keys? No, he's basically just been tumbling a little bit. Whoa, wait a minute. Great. Get your fingers on the wrong keys and you don't think you're applying the thrust quite right. I mean, I'm not giving up until I actually get this, but without specialized equipment, this is remarkably hairy. All right. have it? Grab. And board. And totally F5 in that forever, forever, forever. Got him. And I saved myself quite a bit of mana repel at that time doing it that way. Even though there were some considerable bits of annoying. Alright, so here we go. We are going to again boost ourselves up. We need to go prograde on orbit. I'm turning off RCS because we have our reaction wheels to do that. Oh yeah, no, that day my heart was racing. It was legitimately racing. Oh, yeah, like it used to be that the opposing Kerbal, you could just get them out of their EVA. They would pop out with a suit of their own, like a rocket suit of their own, jetpack, and you could just like fly over to the ship, get picked up, and you were done. I actually like what they've done with this, but it has made it considerably harder to do this kind of rescue because now you know those jetpacks of cargo you have to bring with you, and if they didn't have one, yeah, that's a thing. I kind of wish they were smart enough to like push off at the right time, because like get out on the surface of the thing, and you really shouldn't be able to make it tumble all that much just by doing that, and then just push off in the right direction, or be able to grab somebody when you're yourself in a jetpack, right? So anyway, let's raise the apoapsis up one last time. And actually, hang on. Where is before I get too enthusiastic with that? It's Dunard Kerman, and that's Dandero. It's Rayburn. That's Linballs. There it is. And so that's a considerable distance away from us because we're way the heck over here. So I'm actually going to raise. We've got a fair bit of liquid fuel. I'm going to spend at least raise it up to about 200 because I don't want to waste time. So I don't need much liquid fuel to drop down into the atmosphere or do any correcting, and we've got a long time to wait. So let's work there. Totally using MechJeb's facilities after this, though. I've proven I can do it. I've even proven that I've gotten better over this one stream. Oh, hello. Yeah, let's get on raising the periapsis accordingly. That's good enough. I'm starting to lose my apoapsis. So checking. So hang on. Dunard's heap. So we want to set Dunard as our target. Check the ascending and descending nodes. We're still in plane. Not too surprising. All of our maneuvering work has been very minor adjustments while being in the plane. You don't really shift your orbit in space all that much without a lot of effort. So having Dunard selected, I then want to add a maneuver node, probably fairly late in the orbit. And let's pull that all the way down until we have an intercept. Let's make it a 1 intercept instead of 2, but just barely. Just as some good practice there. Now, where are our 2 intercepts? Or where are our 2 ships in the intercept? Quite a ways apart. If I move it backwards, they're getting further apart and not closer. So I'm going to have to go around at least 1 orbit. So let's fix that. We're going to go to next orbit, and that got them closer. Let's see, that's our ship. So is it within 1 orbit? No, it's going to be the next one. So bumping out ahead again. Actually, that may not have worked. No, we went too far ahead, so we're going to go back in orbit. Back in orbit. On the maneuver node. Where is it? There. And it says at that point we're 4.4 kilometers apart. Does this is interesting. Approach info for Dunard's Heap. I wonder if it's a little bit, if its orbit is a little bit off the plane. I wonder if that's the reason. Interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this burn first and then do a corrective adjustment second. I think that's the way I'm going to approach this. So here we go. So there we go. We are going to, it's going to be somewhat a retrograde burn. So it's going to be closer to the retrograde node. Yep, there we go. Burn time 10 seconds. Quadruple that is 40. 20 seconds. Actually, I'll do a double speed burn for this one. So 20 seconds. 10 seconds across on each side of the node. So T minus 10 is when I'm going to do this. Half acceleration burn. Getting into slightly longer territory. I did that 10 seconds too early. Oh well, that's the way it goes. So I do corrective burns afterwards. Alright, that's very close. Then I'm going to just top it up. That's good enough. Now, how close did we get? 4.5 kilometers isn't terrible, but I'd like to do a little bit of a corrective thing to try to get that a little closer. Doesn't really matter where I do the corrective burn. Arguably sooner is rather than better, but it depends on the kind of correction that needs to be done. So I'm going to do it from here. And because if I need to tilt it, then it has to be near the ascending or descending node. Okay, so let's check out that intersect information. I can now watch it here instead of trying to get my cursor over there. So intersection. That is not telling me anything useful. That got me to 4.5 kilometers. Nope, it's not. So that's oscillating around 4.48. So that's not the one I have to adjust. How about this one? If you just tweak this a little bit, you can figure out if the position at which you're doing. No, this one isn't it either. You can figure out whether the one that you're tweaking is actually the one that needs to be adjusted, at least at that point in the orbit. So let's try this. Whoa. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that tweak isn't really doing it for us. So let's try to do it here instead. So you can see I've adjusted this and I am shrinking the intersect distance. How far can we take that down? Well, what we're effectively doing here is called the drunkard's walk. It's actually a technical term for finding the peak of a hill. I can't remember what it's called. Finding the peak of a hill by basically going in a bunch of different directions and find out gradient descent. So it's the simplest kind of gradient descent. Well, it's actually not gradient descent because that's where you go specifically downhill or uphill. What is it when you go in each direction and test? It's a certain kind of hill walk, and I can't remember for the life of me. Anyway, you can see that my intersect distance is shrinking as I'm very slowly adjusting this. which is good because when it stops shrinking, I will try one of the other directions and try to get it to shrink further. Whoop, there it is. That's about as far as I get that way. So let's try a very slight change this way. Yes, look at that. I'm continuing to shrink it. And so I'll just keep shrinking this as much as I like by adjusting these each in turn. The fact that this adjustment is fixing it, and it means I'm thrusting up or down, means that we were very slightly out of plane with respect to each other. So that's about as good as that's going to get. I'm going to go back to the forward and backward node and nudge that again. No, that's making it bigger. Whoa, 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 that did not help. Okay, so it's about 1 kilometer is about as close as I'm realistically going to get it without being slightly scary. So we only need a 4-second burn here, but I'm going to advance to the maneuver node. So yeah, in case you weren't wondering, I was actually looking at this orbital thing here with respect to the intercept with the particular craft in order to watch that I was reducing. Anyway, so this is going to be a 4-second burn. I want to do this slowly because it's a really tiny burn. So quadruple that to 16. I can do it at 1/4 burn. Split that in half. That's 8. So at T-minus 8 seconds is when I want to do this burn at 1/4 speed. And I'm saying this all out loud because if I don't say it out loud, I'm not going to memorize it because I've got so many things to focus on. Yeah, so here we go. At 16 at 8 seconds. Here we go. Oh, God. Missed it. Missed it entirely. I'm going to do a double speed burn. God, see that? I wasn't even focused enough to do this properly. That's the way it goes. That's totally the way it goes. Okay, is that good enough? How close are we getting? 1 kilometer apart. That's doable. So when we get here, let's... I can do that by doing the add maneuver and to actually figure out how to... yeah. If I do that, what happens? If I say add maneuver and I fiddle with this... I can't remember how to make a maneuver node do what I want it to do for this particular kind of thing. So I'm just going to do what I was doing before, which is set it at target, set it at retrograde. Because I could use a maneuver node to do this last match velocities thing as well, but I can't remember how to do that. My brain's not functioning. So this, what time is it anyway? This might be, it's getting close to 10. This might be the last thing I do this evening. We'll have to see. It's certainly going to take me an hour or two to build a nice moon landing craft. All right, hang on. Let's... T-minus 1 minute until we get to where we're going. I'm going to give us about 20 seconds. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Right. Let's zero this out. All right. So now we're not moving relative to the target. Now what we want to do is find the target's forward direction node because now our intersect is kind of lying to us a bit. Our intersect time is lying to us a bit. So we're going to do this. We're going to get a little bit of speed towards it. It's going to take us 6 minutes to get there at this speed. Let's try this again. Let's pull our forward vector, forward motion target, forward motion marker over top of the directional target. That should mean we're approaching it, and in fact, we are, because the time to intercept is actually getting closer. But it's also still 2 minutes away, so let's see if we can speed that up just a hair. Don't want to get about 10 meters per second. I think it'll be a little bit too scary. Because I don't want to overshoot like I keep doing. Alright, so let's do that, and let's go to retrograde, because we're going to want to, like, bleed off all of our speed when we get close. How are we doing? It's a minute away until we get close enough. Now, where are we going to put him? We have Lindbles in this one, but no one else. We've got Jobin in this one. No, hang on. That can't be right. We got Llewellyn and Coblin in this one. We've only got Lindbles in this one. It's the middle one that we have to get. We have to match up. That's okay. It's got to be ahead of us that way somewhere, because we're pointed retrograde, so it's actually should be dead behind us somewhere out there. But it is still a minute away. Well, 38 seconds away. There it is. There it is. Look at that. There it is. It's a tiny little pixel tumbling towards us. Is it anybody's observation here that space is big? Like, jeez. Alright, let's, Alright, so... Dead stop. Dead stop next to it. I'm okay with this. Okay. Let's just get him out of there. So, F5. Let's get him out of there. Are you gonna be able to do this without tumbling like a maniac? Oh, look at that. Yes, you are. I'm okay with that. So, now that I know that you're not tumbling like a maniac, let's switch over to the other ship. And let's get you roughly set up to approach. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tumble you head over heels. Alright, let's get our RCS orientation visually adjusted. I wish there were a better way to do this. I don't know a better way to do this, actually, where I can steer the craft laterally without just having, like, visuals, right? Like, I'd like to have some sort of lock-on LiDAR system or something, but unless I have backjump, I don't have that. So, I've gotten myself oriented nicely. I'm okay with that. Let's give a short burst on mains, save ourselves some RCS propellant. So I have to go up and slightly to that left, but this right. So up, There we go. All right. Let's start to... Okay, we gotta get it to the middle roughly. That's pretty good. Right, let's switch, let's actually F5 again. We're going to switch over, we're going to let go, and then we're going to switch back, and here is where it all happens. This is where the magic is going to happen, because we are going to bump this guy's spacecraft out of the way. Quickly over to the side. We are not forward and backward aligned anymore because we're not quite level to him, but that's okay. We're gonna right, okay. We should be able to vertically drop down to him at this point. Very gently. Come on. F5, where's the freaking F5 button? Oh. That is so stressful, but the endorphin rush of pulling it off is just amazing. Oh, that felt good. That felt good. Yeah, right, yay. Okay, so now the tricky bit, or the slightly tricky bit. So the big difference between this and the other crafts that I've been using, the variations of biceps that I've been using, has been basically this one doesn't have those fins to help get us down. We're relying entirely on RCS to do it. That shouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but we haven't actually ever done it yet. So, we definitely don't want to be using RCS until the very last minute, so we're turning that off. All right. All right, let's start this descent, and let's do it fairly gently. So a little bit more thrust, and let's get this down to, we can do a little bit better than that. Let's get that down to 150. That'll do. All right. All right. Here we go. There we go. We've hit atmosphere, so we're going to get into retro mode. And I'm just going to leave the RCS on because in principle, we're going to be using very little until the wind starts buffeting us. So here goes. This is going to be a little scary. Oh, this is so yay. All right. We need to get down into the atmosphere here. No, we don't need to bring science down. So in principle, if we screw this up, we send another ship up to rescue this ship. And that I'm not F9ing quick loading out of. As far as I'm concerned, that's a story beat. But I don't have to bring science back on this, so I can abandon this ship if everything goes south. I mean, I'll F9 back into not death, like I said before, but I won't go back any further than that. Here it is, here it is. Let's take that off of physics warp because that's just going to be too frightening. So this is going to be a slow descent. It's going to take some time. For all those watching us long after the fact, feel free to skip ahead because it's going to be just a long, slow descent with possible disaster. At 32 RQ, you are a trooper. I mean, I know you said you were doing just letting this run in the background while you're doing other things, but yeah, thanks for being here. I kind of appreciate that. Wow, I've done a lot of streaming this week. I have a little bit of liquid fuel to help take the edge off of this if this becomes problematic on descent. Let's hope it doesn't. The capsules themselves should be okay, actually, because individually they all have heat shields. But that didn't stop a massive explosion. They only have heat shields on the bottom, technically, and that won't stop a massive explosion from wiping them out anyway. Yeah, this is both terrifying and absolutely beautiful. Oh, I even forgot to take off the batteries, which I could have done because these guys have massive amounts of battery space on them already. Now, so far, SAS alone seems to have been enough to keep this thing on the straight and narrow. The RCS doesn't appear to have been activated to any serious degree because it's been stuck at 4.77. I don't know what that is, liters of propellant so far all the way down. As long as I don't nudge it too hard, that should be the case. But glad I have the RCS as a backup because these guys don't have that strong of a of reaction wheels. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Oh, I caused a little bit of RCS burn. I don't know what I did just by clicking. But that's okay. RCS did its job. It kept the ship on the straight and narrow, falling down. This is actually working really well. I actually like this design better than having those ridiculous inverted winglets. I mean, they did the job, and they did them spectacularly once I figured out like how I wanted to lay those out. But aesthetically, they were goofy. You know what I could do? I could actually put, anything that I put that's smaller than those capsules, above the capsules, not that I want to make this much taller, would be actually pretty well protected for the very reason that the monopropellant's protected. The effective heat shadow, I guess, of the underside of those two big capsules. It's actually pretty big. Like it's... Oh, now we're getting a little assistance from the monopropellant. How are we doing? Yeah, it's little micro amounts, so we have plenty of monopropellant for this descent. How are we we doing? How are we doing? We're actually doing really well. This is actually really good. Look at this. All heat descent and no rocketry descent. And hopefully Oh, actually, let's turn off the RC. No, we don't. We don't want to turn off the RCS. That was a mistake. Okay. That was the only thing keeping us pointed in the right direction. Now we're basically flopping around. Because the shape, it just means that it's going to come down this way faster. But that being said, doesn't matter because this will help us reorient this. And then we can let go on our much bigger chutes. In fact, I'm not even sure how. I think I got my staging slightly hinky here. Let's get the last chutes out as well. That's okay. I can fix up that staging. Oh, that's a beautiful incoming. Hope this thing inverts itself fairly shortly. But actually, that's a good thing for the drogues to do at. I think it's 2,500 2,500 meters is when the drogues pull it around. It'll pull it around more gently than if I just reefed on it with the main chute. So I don't feel bad about having the drogues there. So the drogues come out, help reorient it semi-gently. For loose definitions of gently. Physics accelerate a bit to get us a little closer. There come out the main chutes. Oh, and I can take it off of orbit. What's our landing? So it's going to be a little heavy, but not actually. That's not bad. It could actually survive that. But I have the spare fuel. So when I get to the bottom, I'm going to burn a little of it to just take the edge off. Turn the rest into moonshine to take the rest of the edge off. Very, very slight and tangential reference to Rocket Boys, if you haven't actually seen that. Also called October Sky, I think it's if you haven't read that book or seen that film yet, well worth doing. Absolutely fantastic look into the early rocketry days. The point of view of 4 mining town kids. So we have landed. Let's do the thing. Right, so we recovered it. We got everyone home. Lots of recovery of parts. Some good funds out of that. That got us a good 200,000 or so. So that was pretty good. Actually, probably more than that because we spent a fair bit actually buying some additional parts before all that hit the fan. And we got a whole bunch new astronauts because I guess we rescued them from somebody else's defunct space program. I am totally happy to have a whole army full of, not that, thank you for nothing, go into the astronaut complex, whole army of new characters brought in, and a couple of them are a couple of them next to hire are in our favorite Equinauts list. Applejack and Fluttershy are here, so they'll be joining us when we can afford to hire them. But we already have a whole bunch of characters already on the roster, so that's pretty good. I'm feeling pretty chuffed about that. Can we actually afford these guys? What would this take to actually hire? If we enlist this, I'll just take that then. Ooh, that ate up a good chunk of our money. Okay, that's good to know. They're expensive, but that's okay. So we have 2 more of our Equestrianauts clan, so that's good. More will show up, but in the meantime, I have to make back the money that I accidentally just blew. But I'm not going to be doing that this session. I think I'm going to call it here because otherwise I'm going to be up forever. And I had a really good run. So, because I was 3.5 hours on this stream alone, and I did a Mass Effect one via the Legendary Edition earlier on today, and that was a lot of fun too. So where are we? Good God, I can't believe I spent that much money, but at least I didn't miss out on them, so I'm feeling good about that. Okay, so we are going to very quickly not go back into the VAB because I am being thick. We are going to save the game. Quick load and check the naming convention I was using. It was 008B, but this comes out as save game. 009 new equestrianauts. Equinauts? No, I like equestrianauts better. There we go. So we are ready for the next game. Where I spent all that time making money, and I just blew it on more characters, but that's fine. We're still in pretty good shape to be able to do the moon mission actually now, and so I may do that in the next edition. I'll only be able to take up I think 3 of our characters. I think that's going to be our next target. I think we're going to try to do the moon. I'm going to try to do it with the parts that we currently have. We should be able to do that if we are very careful. Using a combination of liquid fuel rockets for the getting to the moon, landing, and taking off again. Although I may have to ditch part of it at the moon. And just a big honking set of boosters that we already have. Maybe a bigger set of them. We'll have to see. Or I may purchase... spent tech on the heavy lifters because there's some fuel stuff in there and some bigger rockets. That would get us there, and we need to do that anyway. Don't want to miss out on being able to do landing on moon missions. There's lots of good stuff to have happen there. So that's at this stage. That's where we stand. I'm going to be doing some more of this. I'm going to be doing some more of Mass Effect. I'm going to be doing more of Outer Wilds in VR because that's a lot of fun. I think that is where I'm going to call it this evening. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on this wonderful little excursion back into Kerbal Space Program. I am enjoying the heck out of this. I didn't know how much I would, and it's just been delightful. So, I will see you whenever the next stream happens to be. I'll see you next stream. Thanks. Bye-bye.